Hey everybody, it's March 30th, 2020. Welcome back to my basement. We're going to do what I like to call an odds and sods episode. It's going to be just about a few things that I've picked up and bought from various sources. Not enough to do like a dedicated episode to just like one pick. And one of the things I want to jump right into is a while back I showed some Kennedy toolboxes that I got a really good deal on locally. And one of the problems with those toolboxes was that the top box was missing a drawer. That's why I got a really good deal on it. So I'm just going to show you right now how I ended up solving that problem.
Anyways, a little while back, I featured a Kennedy Rollaway toolbox and top box that I had got a really good deal on. And one of the reasons I got such a good deal on it was because the 11 draw top box was missing a drawer. But I figured, hey, I'm probably going to be able to find one. Eventually, a good used drawer will show up on eBay because I've seen them, show up from time to time. And sure enough, like right after I acquired that box, I went on eBay and I found this listing. And oddly enough, it appeared to be for the size drawer that I needed for this box. But the problem was it was for somebody was selling 4 drawers. And one of them, they said, had a dent in the back, but the other 3 were good. But they wanted to sell all 4 drawers together, and they were asking $35 for the 4 drawers, which isn't bad spread out over 4 drawers. I figured, well, I could buy them, but then I got to resell 3. But the problem was the shipping was $18 from Texas. So I was like, all right, well, now it's about 35, 45, about $55 just to replace the one missing drawer. I mean, sure, eventually I'll probably be able to sell the other drawers, but well, interesting thing about this listing was that, it was up and there was quite a few people watching that listing, and it was just, I was like, well, I wonder why so many people are watching that listing. I wonder if they're just curious to see how much money somebody might get for 4 Kennedy draws, or were they watching the listing to see whether or not a best offer would be added to it because there was no best offer. Well, after the listing was on for a few weeks, I decided to take a chance and I contacted the seller and I explained to them that I'd be interested in buying the drawers for $25 if they'd be willing to take $25 plus shipping. And, much to my delight, they said yeah. So I ended up getting them for $24.99 plus $18 shipping. And so there's the auction right there. So, anyways, that's what's in this box here. So, I did cut it open, but I hadn't actually dug in yet and taken a look at them. So I'm going to be putting my eyes on these things for the first time with you guys. And we're going to find out how lucky or unlucky I got with this listing. I took the measurements of the drawers, and they seemed like they were the correct size. So, all right, so that's nicely shrink wrapped. Not shrink wrapped, nicely bubble wrapped. That was drawer number 1. It looks pretty good, actually. I think what I'm going to do is, if the worst drawer is just a little bit bent in the back, I'm probably going to use that one for my chest, so that when I repost these for sale, I can offer the best ones for the eBay customers. The felt's in good shape, so that's just got a little divot there in the back. No big deal. That one's got a little bit of damage to the felt in the back there. And I will recycle this bubble wrap in popcorn, or packing peanuts as it's called, for reshipment of something at a later date. Well, that one's pretty good too, actually. So which one of these is the one that they said was really bent enough to make a point? I guess, see, this one's got this little bend here, and this one's got just the slightest. I guess this one here. So I guess that's the damage they were talking about right there. That little oopsie right there. That's no big deal at all. All right, let's see if it fits. Don't mind this stuff I have up here. I just had stuff that I moved up I had this stuff on display. This was kind of like the Corona showroom. A couple of people wanted to come by and pick up a couple tools I had for sale online. And normally I don't have a problem having people down here, but with this whole social distancing movement, I'm avoiding having people down here. But the other day the guy came and it was raining pretty hard outside, so I couldn't do it on the tailgate of the truck like I had been doing. So I just kind of set the stuff up here, let him take a look at it. All right, so I'm not crazy about the color mismatch we got going here. Didn't really notice it until I put it in now. Let me just see if any of those other ones are different. That's hilarious. I'm laughing because it looks like all three of these look like the rest of mine. I picked out of the four that I got, I happen to pick the only one that has this weird darker color to it, which I would not be surprised at all if that's been oiled. That's I've seen a lot of guys do that to their Kennedys. I guess that's to help prevent corrosion or for whatever reason, but I tend to see that quite a bit. I think this is going to be good. Well, it's kind of a weird optical illusion. When I look at it under the light like this, I don't see that discoloration. So it looks like maybe they all have that coloring. All right, one more little trick. I swapped the top draw with the replacement draw. So now the discolored draw is actually at the top, which when the drawers were closed, it's sitting in that shadow line that's cast by the front. So it's a little bit more hidden. All right, great. Now I can offer that 11 draw box up for sale. Next up, I did a little bit of horse trading with a guy in the next town over. Sold some stuff, or traded some stuff to him before. And he was looking for some small metal storage cabinets with drawers, and I had one that I had planned on bolting to the underside of my workbench here and using, and then I decided not to go that route, so it was just an extra cabinet that I had, and I think I only paid like $10 for that a while back. And then also I had a couple of wood planes, and he's a collector of wood planes, so they weren't anything really special. One was an older Stanley, probably from the 1960s. And you know, the value on that, I don't know what the value on that was, but I only paid about $8 for that at the used tool store, I think, of all places. And then there was another small wooden Stanley plane, little hand plane. It was also not a really super valuable one, but I was able to trade him the couple of planes and the cabinet and $40 cash for this stash of Craftsman wrenches. These are Craftsman ratcheting wrenches that have a flex head on the end. So I don't have any like this with the flex head. I've got some Craftsman ratcheting wrenches, and then you flip this lever and that locks this so it can't flop all around on you. And these are actually kind of pricey online. So anyway, so what I've got here is, I believe I've got 14 wrenches in all, or maybe there was a couple extra ones. Yeah, basically two full sets, one metric, one standard, and I believe it's supposed to be 7 wrenches per set, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think this was an extra. I guess it's, yeah, seven wrenches each. So, a couple of nice sets. I'll put those in my own toolbox. And then I also got this Eagle number 66, I think these are. Yeah, Eagle 66 oil can. I've got a couple of these at least. I don't know how many. I've lost count how many of these I have now. It seems like I always try and pick these up when I can buy them right. You know, and buying them right's usually for like 10 or 15 bucks. They trade a little bit higher than that, depending on condition and that on eBay. But you know, when you're just buying them at a pick or whatever, they're really about, you know, 15, 20 bucks.
So anyways, this one seems to work perfectly fine. So like I said, I don't even need any more of these. I just got kind of a weakness for these Eagle 66 oil cans. Yeah, so here's a couple I could put my hands on right away. I think I might even have more than these, but this one here, the nozzle there just needs to be tightened. And then this one here appears to be leaking around the seal here. Whereas this one seems like it's in really great condition overall. Although I don't know why. That's interesting. That is not supposed to be like that. There we go. And this final item is a cheap Chinese tool I bought off of eBay. This is a clearly made in China bearing puller set. So I've been needing a blind hole bearing puller for the Yerf Dog motor. And oddly enough, the blind hole bearing pullers, the good quality ones, are pretty darn expensive. And then, for some strange reason, even the Harbor Freight one, which my local Harbor Freight didn't have in stock, but I did find, I think on their website, I found their version of this bearing puller set, and it was like 75 bucks. Now I probably could get, one of my Harbor Freight coupons and, use that and get a discount. But then I found this on eBay, and I think this was 25 bucks if I'm not mistaken. So I was like, boy, for the limited amount of use that I'm going to have for this thing, as long as I can just get my job done this time around, I really don't feel like shelling out, big money for a set that I'm going to use very infrequently, and then most of the time it's going to sit in the shelf. So anyways, so this was $24.89 with free shipping. So talk about cheap. You look at the size of this box and the weight, and this came in, how was this shipped? It came in U.S. Parcel Select Smart Post. So I'm guessing, came from New Jersey to Massachusetts. So I'm guessing this was sort of like first class mail or parcel post. But I'm thinking probably still cost, I bet you still cost like $8 at least to mail this to me. So, what are we talking? We're talking like $16 or $17 is what. And then eBay fees. Well, anyway, so this case is really cheap. Before I even open it, it's really jostling around in there. Okay. I think I've got this upside down. Not that it matters, but, yeah, you got this upside down. That's hilarious that these snapped off on the first. Yeah, all you want for this kind of money, huh? So anyway, so what this is this is a specially designed bearing puller for reaching into a bearing that's in a blind hole. So you can't get to the backside of the bearing to push it out. Typically you find these kind of bearings on the insides of engine cases for motorcycles and ATVs, and in this case the How Hit engine on the go-kart. So the basic theory is that this little sharp edge right here in this bevel, you basically reach this into the bearing, and then by tightening this in, by tightening this threaded shaft in, it will expand. See how that's made? It will cause this to expand out and basically grip behind just that little bit of bevel at the back of the bearing, the inner race. Then you attach this slide hammer attachment to this, and you basically slide hammer the bearings out. So that's the gist of it. So this is by design. It's
coated with this stuff, which is probably an anti-corrosive agent to help keep these from rusting on the trip over in the probably the container ship. So all right, so we'll take a quick look at how this works at pulling the bearings, and we'll go from we'll wrap this video up with that. How about that? Well, I guess I didn't break these, they just popped out because I opened it the wrong way. There we go. Oh, good. All right. So here's an example of an application for that bearing puller. This is the outer case of the that Howe hit 150cc engine. Now the bearing that was in here, obviously you can get to the back side through here and knock that bearing out. But the problem here, you see this bearing is in a blind hole, a hole that has no opening on the back side to tap that out. So we've got to be able to grip this bearing somehow on the inside here and pull it out, and that's what this bearing puller kit comes in. Now, the smallest bearing size that I have to deal with in this particular application is this one right here. So as long as I have one that can do at least that size, oh yeah, by far. So actually this bearing can do even smaller bearings than that one apparently. So let's go with the next size up. All right, let's see if we back this out maybe. Well, I guess we got to use that first one and hope it opens up wide enough to handle it. Boy, that seems like it would have to open up an awful lot. Wouldn't that be a real stinker if this thing actually can't get big enough to take that bearing out, and the other one isn't small enough to take that bearing out? That would really stink. No need to panic. Looks like this is going to open up enough to make this work. I don't know how much I'm supposed to tighten that. I don't want to over tighten it, obviously. If I over tighten it, it might just break the brand new puller. All right, I think that's probably sufficient right there. The patented slide puller handle. So we just hold that down like that. What the hell's going on here? Oh, you can't be serious. They shipped this with this screwed on here like this, with that facing up. So I'm two different size threads, and this was facing up. I thought actually this was just a double female with identical thread all the way through, but it's not. So I just got to take it off and flip it around. Oh, and by the way, when I took it off, a bunch of swarf just fell out of this thing. So this is like really down and dirty machining they did here. There we go. All right, good, cool beans. All right, so now I just need a way to hold this down like this so that I can do the slide hammer trick. All right, it works. Sorry I didn't give you guys a live action shot, but I didn't reposition the camera. But it does work. But what I did was I heated the casting around the outside of the bearing, preheated it before I tried pulling it. That was a recommendation I read online, and that certainly did make it a lot easier, I think, to pull that bearing out. All right, so that's going to be a wrap. If you really want to watch the bearing puller in action, just keep your eyes out for a upcoming episode on the another episode on the Yerf Dog go-kart repair. All right, so we're going to call that a wrap. Thanks for watching. Oh, well, I just had to come back and revisit this thing real quick before we close out this video. Now that I've pulled a couple of bearings with this thing, I can proclaim that it is pretty much worth exactly what I paid for it. or maybe even a little less. So this end right here, I think this should be hardened, and because it just gets all chowdered up from the force of tightening this. So after a couple of fails of this not gripping and pulling out and trying to over tighten it, every time I would take it out, chunks of metal would come out and this would be all ground up, chewed up. So I just touched it up on my belt grinder and was able to get it to tighten enough. And I had to heat the casting up more than I really wanted to, but I was able to get that bearing out. But I would say that, you know, if this is not something you probably want to invest in if you're going to do, you know, a large number of these, you're probably going to want to go with a higher quality set. That being said, I have no idea whether or not the Harbor Freight one is any better. It might be. I mean, it's probably the same Chinese import type of thing. So, you know, is it a better quality Chinese import? Hard to say. That edge right there, if you know, if it slips out, if it pulls out on you, it doesn't take long for that, what started as a knife edge, to kind of go away. But I was able to get it out after a few tries.